welcome everybody to Conversations in the Kitchen. I'm really excited that I've managed to keep this going. This is the 4th year that I'm on, and I am thrilled about my guest tonight because I've known Saul for many, many years, and we've connected over the years with like mutual things, mutual friends, mutual interests. And he's attended my kitchen very regularly. And I've always found him a delight to speak to. So Saul is, a lot of you do know Saul. For those of you that don't, Saul is, he calls himself a financial therapist. And I know he's going to dive into that. Lifestyle and financial therapist. I love that. Like, this is the world we're in. We need that combination. So Saul, thank you so much for joining the kitchen. Welcome.
Thank you. taken a while. I think I spoke about this 2 or 3 years ago, but anyway, here we are.
I'm pleased. You know, I bumped into Saul the other day at the garden center, as I do bump into most people, and I really just, this is the last, probably going to be the last talk for this year. The next one will be in January, unless we decide to have sort of a combination of some speakers get together farewell in December. But bumped into Saul and managed to very gratefully convince him to finally come on. So I'm a delight to have you sort of bring brightness to our kitchen this Thursday evening.
Thank you.
So Saul, I'm going to dive in, and you know, besides for what you do, you know, my first question is really, how did you get into the field you're in? What is the story that led up to your mind shift?
So, okay, I'm going to go way back to my youth. We were very privileged. My dad had a chain of retail stores when growing up, pretty much like your at home, but add toys. I mean, I don't think there's any store like it. Maybe like a hypermarket, but smaller stores. And I think very early on, it was instilled. We worked. We went in holidays. We helped wrap gifts. I mean, I even pierced people's ears. You know, we all would work in a different store. So basically, half the holiday we'd work, and the rest we would sort of have the holiday. And it was just a part of our life. My grandparents had the business. My dad took it over. Everybody got stuck in. We were very meshed in the whole business and stuff. Very liberal upbringing. So, you know, work wasn't. It never seemed like work. It was a family. You know, so it was a family business. So worked in that business, then, you know, went through school like any other normal person. Always found myself to be quite ambitious. I kind of always wanted to earn money. I'd wash cars, I'd mow people's lawns, occasionally get into trouble. But yeah, I left school and didn't really know what I wanted to do, to be quite honest. Ended up I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have any particular academic strengths. Loved sport, still love sport. Was, as my dad said, if I picked one sport, I may have made a career out of it. I'm not even sure if in those days, the 80s, 90s, you could make a career out of sport. I think the professional era is upon us now. So I just picked something I kind of liked: finance, money. So I started doing a cost accounting diploma at Cape Tech. Didn't enjoy it at all. Just wanted to work, to be honest. Like, wanted to have the, you know, not the necessarily, not the independence of it, but just the actual, possibly even the tangible feeling of having cash or some money, you know, or being able to be free enough to go to a bar or a restaurant and possibly pay for myself, or take a girl on a date even. Okay, it might be even simple as that. So that lasted a year. Didn't do it. Started studying a BCom through UNISA because I figured that And thanks to my dad, I mean, I was allowed to do that, so I could work and study at the same time. So actually started delivering pizzas at the first place that ever delivered food in South Africa, in Sea Point. Absolute jewel, like, you know, and at the very same time, unfortunately, my dad lost his business. So, you know, we had to pivot, like the whole family pivoted. And so I delivered pizzas for a couple of years. And so my lifestyle was kind of study sometimes, go to deliver pizzas at night, go out afterwards, sleep till 12 o'clock in the day. And I just remember one morning, Sunday morning, my dad came into my room and he had cut out an advert in the Sunday Times for a trainee manager for a multinational. And he said, you need to apply for this job. You can't sleep till 12 every day. It's just like, it's not gonna. Anyway, nevertheless, it was a big joke. I showed all my friends. We all actually went for the interview, and I ended up getting the job. Loved every moment. I was in the alcohol business, working for a multinational. Worked my way pretty quickly up to managerial, like a managerial position, and then actually got headhunted by the holding company with a really, really nice job as in the depot in Greenpoint. A lot of responsibility, but like a lot of hours. And I was unfortunately involved in an armed robbery about a week, I think it was a week after the Springboks won the World Cup in 95. And I'd met a girl that weekend of the finals, and 5 Nigerian guys came in and they pistol whipped me and cocked guns at my head. And anyway, I suppose in a bit of panic, I gave them notice, 6 months notice, and I left. My dad had just, sometime before that, started in the insurance industry, and suggested, why don't I come and work there? But there were issues because at the time they only allowed people, you had to be 30, you had to be, I was too young. I mean, according to their things, but my dad managed to convince his manager to give me a shot at it. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And so I started really young, helping people with their finances and stuff. We're talking nearly 30 years ago. Wow. So back in the day, you know, if you look at your apartment, you've got access control where you have to push a button and somebody has to answer an intercom. There were no fences on any buildings and stuff. So I used to go on Monday nights and I used to knock on people's door and I'd say something to the effect of, I'm sorry to disturb, loving, I'm going to be back in the area later this week. I'd love to talk to you about your financial future. And slowly but surely, you know, Tambeskloof, Vredehoek, we covered that area totally. And there were a lot of young people like my age that could only afford to maybe put 50 Rand a month away in those days, 100 Rand a month. And slowly but surely, I kind of got into this whole finance thing. You know, you could make your own hours. You could work as hard as you wanted to. The effort you put in was, you know, you'd see results. It was the perfect thing for me. I'm a pretty competitive person, but I'm mostly competitive with myself, which I've realized in my older age that, you know, I run 5 times a week, but I don't run marathons or half marathons. I don't compete against anybody else. My exercise is solitary. I try and beat the clock. I try and beat myself. So basically, yeah, that all happened. I started to see results quite quickly. Yeah, it started, you know, it was an annuity. It's an annuity income business. I started seeing that if I just plugged away at it, and also my dad was an unbelievable example because he really was disciplined. I mean, to this day, I don't think I'm half as disciplined, but he showed the way. You know, he had this, you know, everything. You can't reinvent the wheel. This is what they teach you. You know, you just got to do the same thing this week, next week, the week after, the year after, the month, and it's just carries on. I mean, I still feel like it's kind of Groundhog Day, but it's evolved into something different. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that happened, and then eventually it was like, I need to do something else, you know. So somewhere along the line, I came up with this idea that I needed to make quick money, and I came up with this idea for a 500 club, where 500 people put in 1,000 Rand. I take a 20% on the top, and one person every 3 months would win the balance. And as I was about to get this off the ground, the government changed the gambling laws. And I was at my dad's house one day and I saw my dad subscribed to like everything, all financial magazines. I think he still does. And I saw in the Finance Week, there was like a newspaper quality telephone book of websites. This was in 1999. I think at the time, because I know the facts, there were less than 20,000 people using internet banking. And I looked at this thing and I said, I can do this better. And so I decided, long story short, I published South Africa's first web directory, which was a telephone book of websites that got endorsed by the government. And through that, and I never stopped doing the insurance, but I never focused on it. This web directory just went crazy. I mean, I still remember my dad saying to me, and I mean, this was people's thoughts on the internet in the early 2000s, like, this is not a business. This is not something, I mean, who would have thought we could be doing this through the internet, 20 years ago, 23, 24 years ago? I believed in it. Yeah, I mean, I was flying to Johannesburg. I got flown to San Francisco. I got free business class return tickets to any destination in the world. I won an award from the government for my contribution to e-commerce and the internet, but it wasn't going to be sustainable, which I found out because I went to San Francisco and found out that Google was going to launch. And the minute Google launches, like any hard copy telephone book or whatever is gone. And at the same time, my partner and I had a fallout. Anyway, I ended up selling the business to her. I met gorgeous Nina over there. And I had to decide what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. I knew I had an aptitude for this business that I'm in now, but I knew I had to start it again. I started and I was now nearly 30 and I had to be really, really make a career. I had to decide that this is going to be my career, because you can't dip your finger into this industry and dip out. It's not that, it's a marathon. It's not there's no stopping and starting. Anyway, I committed to starting it again. I joined a big multinational. I did it in my first year. I was the #1 new recruit, whatever. But I always knew that for me to work for a boss was never, ever going to work. I'm not that person. I realized very early on, thanks to my parents, that your lifestyle is gold. You got to work hard, but you've also got to play hard. You've got to do the things. I was never going to be this 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night person, ever. And they used to complain to me all the time when I was at this multinational. Imagine if you worked a few hours more a day, how much more money you would make. And I kept on saying to them, that's not going to happen. I'm going to get poorer. I'm going to get unhealthy. It's not going to be fun. I said, I'm doing what works for my equilibrium, and I know this. And I'd spoken to people overseas and organizations called like $1 Million Round Table, which are the most successful people in the world in our industry. And in fact, when Nina and I went overseas, I was supposed to meet the #1 guy in the world at that time. And somehow I couldn't meet him in London or whatever. But what they all said was the same thing, was work smart, not hard in this industry, because you'll die chasing money. So that was 20 odd years ago. Yeah, I left that multinational. They were very upset with me. Nina and I just met. We had no money. And here I am sitting, still doing it. I mean, my dad's just about to retire, and I worked out that if I'm still doing this when I'm his age, I'll be doing it for 60 years. Like 55 or 57 years or whatever. I've seen so much in this time. I've met so many unbelievable people. I've seen people who are paying 50 Rand a month into a savings that are now worth 100 million. I don't know. Just what's in here. And my dad will back me up on this, is the best part is learning from other people and hearing other people's stories, because, we all, the only thing that's different between all of us are fingerprints. The rest is opportunity and whether we make the best of it or not. I go back to the armed robbery. My dad rushed to the scene and said to me, what do you want to do? I said, I want to stay here and I want to make this country work for me. Because you can run. I mean, you can run from your job, you can run from your, your career, you can run from your family, you can run from, but it's always going to, it's always going to be there, So that's basically in a nutshell, where I'm at. And I must say it evolved into financial therapy because I just didn't feel comfortable calling myself a financial advisor, because I found myself with my female clients taking, single female clients, taking them down to BMW or to Ford or whatever to negotiate on their behalf with a car salesman, because people don't know that you can get a tow bar if you do the deal. I mean, they're not selling cars like Pick and Pay sell milk. So, is the tricks of the trade. On the 25th of the month, these car salesmen need to reach their target. They'll discount the commission to sell a car on that day. So it's all these little nuggets that are, experience, I guess, if you want to call it, that make this job worthwhile, and I also made a commitment to myself that every day I just want to touch one person in a good way. So do something good. It's not all about work, and there's a lot of pro bono and a lot of which people say, why are you doing this for free? It's because what you do for this person, the next person is going to reward you handsomely, you know what I mean, without even questioning it. So it's a sharing of knowledge, it's a sharing of pain. I mean, my story is not, I mean, there's a lot more to the story. I mean, Nina and I have been married for 20 years this December, but there's times where we've had to say we only got 50 Rand left per day for the next 10 days. Do you know what I mean? So to enjoy the pleasure, you've got to understand the pain and the stress as well. I've learned over time to accept my stresses and what triggers me with the work. But there's nothing better than seeing somebody succeed financially. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to just see results, and that's where the love comes from. People and money are like oil and water, but if you find people that see money the way they should see it, if you've got a skill and you acknowledge it, if you've got talent, you can recover from anything. You can come back. So that's it. Yeah.
I love that you so openly shared your story with us. Thank you so much. Life experience accounts for so much in order to sort of move forward with what is clear is you obviously had a passion for this industry, which is really amazing, because a lot of people don't. They have a fear for this industry. So you need, someone like you can actually can alleviate the difficulty of that fear, and actually make it sound encouraging. And you're 100% right. It's really the connections, as we connect with each other, the better we connect, the more possibility there is.
Absolutely. And the thing is that, I was fortunate. One of the biggest things is I was fortunate enough to never, ever have to make a financial purchase from anybody other than somebody I trust the most, which is my father. My first endowment policy, my first life policy I bought from my dad. And I always said to myself, when I interact with somebody and I uncover a need, I want them to feel that they don't have to second guess it. So I needed to convey the way I feel. Like, I have seen so many sad and shocking stories throughout my career that I've learned when it comes to it's a people thing. The products are secondary. It's about, I mean, when you're doing yoga with your clients, you're giving them some sort of, you've got a connection with them it's a trust, it's an innate trust. And I think that you know, I always say that anybody who's a client of mine, I'd have around my Friday night supper table. And that's where the biggest pleasures come in, is that it's been a long slog. It's been time, yes, it's been, I'll say, ball breaking. But the thing is, if I look at the people that I look after, you know, wow, some incredible people, and I'm pinch myself every day that they've put their faith and their trust into me. So, you know, somewhere in my career, I kind of I'm not worthy. You know, and you have these moments, you know, when really good things are happening and stuff. But I've learned to say that experience counts. Clearly, I've done something right. You know, the average length of service these days in a job is maybe 5 to 7 years at the most. We always joked about people who worked for companies for 40 years and then retired. You know, I've been doing this for nearly 30 years. I must have done something right, you know. So yeah, it's very rewarding, and it's I guess I suppose one of Maslow's hierarchy of needs was, you know, to feel needed or wanted or useful, you know. And I think the irony of the whole thing is that I'm in the morbidity industry, okay? It's people buy life insurance, they buy severe illness cover, and you know, you can speak from experience about, you know, surviving something really serious. And what got me into this industry was almost dying, you know what I mean? So, you know, it's not always a happy business. So I try my best to demystify, and I've used this word for years with my clients. I'm there. You know, most of you have probably seen a policy document. I mean, I tell people to read it in the toilet, when they're on the toilet, and just read a few, because you're not supposed to understand. You're not supposed to understand this. It's, you know, so I tell people, let me look after it for you, you know, because I can put myself in your shoes. It's on my shoulders, and if something happens and I didn't do a proper job, it's on my shoulders. So whilst being a huge responsibility, I relish looking after people's, you know, I'm not looking after their social side. You know, I'd hate to be a psychologist, no disrespect to any psychologist or anything, but you end up being kind of like the hairdresser, you know, that has the chat, you know, there's a lot of stuff. But, you know, I know, and I had a client whose daughter phoned me today. Her father passed away, and he wasn't a big earner. He worked in a factory, and I looked after the company, and he was such a nice guy. But when I told her how much money there was for her and her brothers, I could hear her through her cry. I could see her smile, how proud she was that her dad made good decisions. And that's, you know, you lose somebody, but the family gains. It doesn't bring him back, but it's just, yeah, it's not for everybody, this business, but it's pretty rewarding, I must be honest, if you
You
take
know,
the stress out of it.
yeah. But you make it accessible for people, which is a remarkable thing. I mean, I can't stand getting policy, like any documentation or emails. I mean, when we still got like letters.
No,
I, like,
it's horrible.
and I'm just like, oh, I can't, I just can't. So if you can, I mean, that people, you know, that trust word is so important, that you instill trust in a subject that is so, that everybody needs to tackle, and very few of us are particularly good at it. It's just such a remarkable thing, but it all comes back to the connections, because you care about people. I mean, I think your innate interest is, you know, even though you wanted to have your financial freedom, your innate interest is people.
That, yeah, without a doubt. And the thing is for me, I've acknowledged that to see people succeed. So a lot of the people that I surround myself are, if I'm measured in a financial, are super successful. Okay. But what's important for me is that, and the journey I've had with them, is that they become super successful, but they're still great people. Because, you know, there is this train of, well, I mean, it's real that money changes people. you know, I don't work in those circles, and I only work on referrals, and birds of a feather do flock together. So some amazing stories. I mean, money shouldn't change you. And as we discussed when we were talking about what I'm going to talk about is that, you know, we've all been through passages in our life where we've really, really struggled with finances on a negative scale, like where we really haven't felt we've had enough, or we haven't made a payment, or, you know, maybe had to borrow money from somebody to pay someone else. But what I've realized over this career is that no matter how much you've got, those stresses, the stresses are different, but they're still the stresses. So,
Yeah.
so, you know, I kind of put myself in a position where I kind of am helping people that have excess more than people that have too little. And I think that you got to find that happy medium. So what I decided a long time ago was to assist people to work to a lifestyle. So instead of saying, I want to have 10 million Rand, I want to go overseas once a year. And this is very much thanks to my father, because I'm just going to tell you this, but my father promised my mother and their wedding day that he'll take her overseas every year of their life together. Okay. And COVID scuppered that, but he made it up by going twice in the first year that they could travel. And that's commitment, and that's a lifestyle goal. It's not a, and then when you visualize all these lifestyle goals, you know, I want to do an MBA, I want my kids to go to this school, I want to travel, I want to, you know, then it's tangible. You can actually mood board it. You know, I'll never forget when Nina and I met, we made a mood board and we had religious, social, material goals. And I think we basically ticked all of them off in the first 3 or 4 years of being together. And there were some rad ones. I mean, like some ones that I wouldn't have dreamt about doing. But when, you know, we grew up in a home where my dad imported tapes from America and motivational books and how to create your own world. And it was kind of ingrained in me, but it only became serious when I got a bit older. You know what I mean? And the thing is that if you can believe it, if you can see it, you can believe it. You know what I mean? And it's so attaining a rand value or dollar value is like going into a vortex of, you know what I'm saying? But if you say, like, let me just do this every year, I want to, in June every year, I want to go to Thailand, or, you know, I want to upgrade my car cash every 7 years. It's just so much easier to understand it. So that's what I try and do with people. It's tough now with the younger generation, because it's very tough. I've had to study and read up a lot about the younger generations, because, you know, they've got so many different job opportunities, and some of them are earning a lot of money doing very little. But generally speaking, yeah, you know, if you've got too much, it's a problem. If you've got too little, it's a problem. So it's finding that happy medium where you all, money and yourself, are walking into the future together, you know.
But also, I think what you do is, you know, because money in and of itself is actually abstract.
Well, it's a bartering tool, really. I mean, you know,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
But if you have nothing that you're bartering with, I mean, you know, for someone to just want more money, it's really about what lifestyle, what kind of goals do you want? What do you want to achieve? If you're taking something abstract and you're making it tangible, and also I feel like you connect with people on you know, with their humanity, which allows them, gives, that's why I think people have, it's so easy to trust you, because that's what
yeah. So I think, so I've made, you know, I try and keep it on a level where, you know, not I don't paint everybody in the same brush. And the thing is I think what's very important, and possibly what differentiates me from, I'd hesitate to say, but probably 90% of the people that do what I do, is it's actually about getting to know me and me getting to know you more than it is about how much money you got, or I have to know this person, and I really need to feel that they know me before we can even get to the point of a commercial transaction. I often say to people, let's just meet again. Let's meet again. Let's just have a coffee. I need you to understand how this is going to work. So like, it's kind of like a service level agreement where, if you like me and I like you, then we've got potential. It's almost like it's a relationship. I mean, I don't know who's been into a bank lately. I mean, we don't go into banks a lot, but that hasn't changed in 100 years. And internet banking it's nothing. It's there's nobody. So, I am trying to be a bastion of bridge between this world of finances and protection of wealth and creation of wealth and all this markets and currencies, and just try and like sort of say, hey, just slow down. You can't start reading the financial pages of a newspaper before it's like running before you're walking. I always try and empower my clients to find out how the currency markets work, find out what inflation is. What is inflation? Why do things get more expensive? And it's unbelievable how the cleverest people I meet have absolutely no financial skills. And I 100%, and I've started doing it slowly, but very slowly, but it's my biggest goal is to get the kids at school to start learning, make it mandatory, or just voluntarily that the school will teach grades 5, 7 or 8-year-olds about money. And if you save money, you get interest on it. It's tough. It's tough. We're not a country of savers. We're not a country. There's very little education on finances. Yeah, it's tough. And so I subscribe to a list of characteristics that I've written down about myself, and I constantly look at them. And their words like patience. Okay, I've had to learn patience, because some people really do take a long time to understand the concepts, and I'm not 100% comfortable taking people's money and putting it away somewhere if they don't understand where it is. As much as they trust me, I want them to know what's happening. Like, I need them to see that I believe in myself, that I trust myself. So it's a lot of projection of how I feel about myself, and I think hopefully that's what rubs off on people. And integrity, honesty. You only get one shot at it. Like one. If you do a bad deal, or you're greedy, it comes back. I'm a firm believer in karma, and that the wheel turns. So yeah, it's patience. It's a long haul.
Well, I think you do it remarkably well, and yeah, with a lot of grace, and yeah,
Well, I'm a hardest.
so it just, yeah, kudos to you. And it's speak to us about how people, the correlation between people's lifestyle reflects, the relationship to their lifestyle, to their health, can reflect.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. So, I mean, speaking for myself, I've always been a relatively fit person, but I've been on a journey over the last 6 years where I've committed to being fit. And it's been a serious journey. I mean, I haven't missed a week of reaching my target in 6 years, but I think that it starts with us. It starts here. There are loads of people that are serious, that have loads of money and are healthy and whatever the story is. But I think there is a direct correlation about feeling fit, good, healthy mind, healthy body, and being able to get up and do the job. I think it's actually more about committing to doing something. the frequency of doing something that's out of the ordinary. And it can be anything, you know. Some people go to an art class on a Wednesday night. Some people go up the mountain twice a week. Some people go and swim in cold water, crazily enough. You know, I think when we can see our own commitment to something positive, it definitely melds into our financial lives. Because let's be honest, saving is a commitment, right? Saving money, you know, putting money away is a commitment. I think it's a very hard commitment. I mean, if I could get to every first salaried person on the planet, I mean, it's amazing to me that it's not ingrained, and that goes back to the education at school. That 10% of your first salary, if you start doing it from the first salary, I've got clients that do it. We've all had to stop saving at some stage because we didn't have enough money. But when you know what it's like to have a positive bank balance or saving somewhere, but it takes commitment, it takes practice, it takes, you know, and also be able to take advice, I think is also a big thing. You know, if a doctor tells you that you need to slow down, you know. It's people sometimes it just goes like that, you know. But I think health is wealth, definitely.
Mm. No,
And I mean,
absolutely.
you in the health business. I mean, you training people at yoga. I mean, you must have seen results, unbelievable results from people over the years that are regulars of yours. And I think, yeah, I think to be quite honest, if I wasn't as active as I am, I may not have been so keen to even come on here and stuff. So I try and set this example of like be fit and healthy, have fun, and make no mistake, I try and have as much fun as possible. Okay. But do the job, you know, like get the work done and yeah, take responsibility, own it.
Mm. No, absolutely. Your attitude is so important, and when we chatted earlier on, it's also how, you know, money is energy and attitude. So
Yeah, so I have this little gumph that I say. So I say to people, so you know, if I gave you a little box like this big, a money machine, and I gave it to you at 6 p.m. on a Friday evening, and I'm going to take it away at 6 p.m. on a Sunday evening, but it will produce, you can take out as much money as possible in those 48 hours or whatever. What are you going to do when you're not at home with that box? You're going to lock it up in a safe. You're going to protect it with your life. Okay. And then people go, absolutely. And I say, well, you're a money machine. Okay. You get up in the morning, you go out, you do your job, you get your salary check at the end of the month. If that breaks down or somebody hurts it or it's broken, what are you going to do? You know, how are you going to live? How are you going to pay your rent, your bond, etc.? So that is my sort of scenario of telling people, protect yourself. Okay, that's from a protection point of view. Protect yourself. I say to people, you know, have you got a car? Of course I've got a car. Some people have got 2 or 3 cars plus a motorbike, a holiday house. I say, are they insured? Of course they are. I mean, God forbid somebody to smash into my car and I've got to pay their damage and my damage. So then why aren't you insuring yourself? If you've got kid school fees to pay, etc., what happens if you break down and you smashed and you can't earn? So, you know, it's simple, but it's complicated. So I try and make it simple for people to understand that, you know, there's no sense in going out and buying a 1 million rand car, but if you break down, you can't pay for that car. Do you understand?
absolutely.
And
You know,
that is an attitude. It's like, it's an attitude of like, you know, it's actually, it's a selfless attitude when you start to look at it and say, I'm going to protect first and then I'm going to go out there and be my best self.
Yeah. Yeah. I think,
Because you're nothing without this.
yeah.
So yeah.
I think the point that you make, which is so important, is that we have to be comfortable enough getting to know ourselves, and relationship with finance is not something that you taught from as a kid. So I love your idea, sort of teaching something like that, or setting up a program, maybe setting up a program at schools. But it was something that I wasn't spoken to about growing up, or as a youngster. So, and I think for a lot of people, it's like it's a foreign thing. So it can be very scary until you finally out of school, you have your first job, and but to have your foundation where you were involved in your family business, it gave you that sort of stepping stone. So where you can people from the get-go.
It did, but having said that, it was a very scary experience. My dad was 48. I mean, my parents were married for, I think, nearly 56 or 57 years. We were all just about finished school, and it all just disappeared.
Sure.
It was a very traumatic experience, but I must be honest that if you start dissecting it and see how fantastically well my dad did thereafter, and we've experienced it and we've gone through it, and touch wood, we all here. So much has happened since then. I think that it brings me back to at one stage I had this goal that I wanted to talk to a stadium of people. Like I came up with made up this talk called In Life to Love. It's actually, I don't give out business cards anymore. It's so like 2000, and people still actually ask, do you have a business card? I mean, I've got thousands of them that I printed, and on the back side of it, I put In Life to Love. And my talk was like about, it starts with me. I mean, it was so early 2000s, but it's still so relevant, is that, self-belief is, if you don't believe in yourself, you can't expect other people to believe in you. And it's not simple, okay? It's not that frivolous, but it's when you start to believe in yourself, in your capabilities, that you actually can do. I don't know. I've read Malcolm Gladwell's book. You've done the 10,000 hours. You've put in a a lot of my friends said to me, you've got this tonight. You remember that you know more than everybody else. It's true. I've got a set of skills that I believe in, and believe it or not, it's good to be nervous. Okay. So I was a bit nervous today, but everybody here has got a set of skills. And when you understand that those set of skills are worthy, or they create wealth, they create opportunity, they give you options. So that's what being successful should feel like, is opportunity or choices. It shouldn't feel like I've got 3 million rand in the bank, or I've got 9 million in stocks, or I drive a Ferrari. Wealth is actually what we started with being healthy, but also having choices. So don't feel like working today, I'm going to go up Table Mountain. Having the luxury of just being flexible. My sister's getting married. I've used up all my leave, but I've got enough in savings that I can go to the weddings. I'll take unpaid leave. You know what I mean? Like, those are the little things that I try and instill in people, that wealth isn't measured in the size of your bank account, because that can go tomorrow. It can disappear. But the memories you make through the choices that you create, those are the things I think that keep us going. I know certainly in my little pod here, we try and create memories, and you sometimes don't even need to leave the house to do that. But you need to work smartly.
Yeah. No, you make such a valid point, because our wealthiest, our times of abundance, where we feel abundant, are the times where you've created amazing memories that really could be simple, but it's those connections.
Yeah.
And you
So we time poor effectively. So that's also one of my parts of my In Life to Love talk is how do we come to a place where we understand that time is much more valuable than money, or we sort of find that, I don't know, the Venn diagram where, you've got the time and the money in it. And I came up with this concept. I don't know, I might somebody might have done it before, but I've never seen it. I called it the happiness meter. It's like, when does the graph intersect where you're at your happiest, but you're in a state of bliss, you're enjoying your work, all those 7 spheres of your life are all in harmony or pretty close to, everything's just harmonious, and that doesn't happen often in a given year or maybe in a decade. But once you feel it and you acknowledge it, you can work towards getting there again. So, sometimes for a very spiritual person, they need a lot of spiritualism in their life, but they don't need a lot of, so it's working out all these things. And over the years, I've had such a varied client base that I've had to learn a lot of these things. How do you talk to somebody about money who doesn't believe that? I mean, I've sat with people, happy families, husband and wife, where the husband says, why do I need to leave money for my wife and children? She's just going to marry someone else and forget about me. And these are clever people. So you've got to kind of absorb that and not get upset and say, but this is what happens when you pass away. Estates get frozen. Your wife needs immediate money. Your kids' school fees. I mean, can you imagine your children living in a 1-bedroom flat after having to move out of your 5-bedroom home? It's pretty much logic. Like, yeah. So it's been a ride. It's a ride.
And like you said, there's so many stories with the different people. There's life stories that you're entering. Each it's
Yeah.
not, and what I like about your sharing and your attitude towards it is that it's you don't see people as just clients, as just another client, another clog in the wheel, but
No.
actually, they're people, they have stories, they have individual needs and interests. It's quite something to reach people on various levels.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, the stuff, I mean, I'll give you an example. I mean, a client of mine messaged me yesterday. She said she needs to have a DNC. I mean, it sounds odd to everybody, the rest of the world, but like, I happen to know what that is, because that's the industry I'm in. I've got a big medical aid practice, and I basically can answer 99% of the questions that somebody would ask the Discovery call center. But it's so many little things, like so many little, chinks. Somebody called me today and said, I might need to have a cochlear implant. It's like, I feel like I'm wearing, like, within my one hat, I've my hat. What do you call a store that sells hats? Like, I am that store. Like, you got to take the one hat off, and then half an hour later, you've got another hat. It's really almost indescribable how woven into people's lives you get. But yeah, it's incredible. But I'll have to say that it's also it can be very heartbreaking as well. I mean, it's the morbidity industry, like, when people are alive and healthy and well, it's fantastic. When people are not doing so well, you're the first person. I mean, COVID was a huge learning curve for me, a massive learning curve. Sure, when they announced the lockdown, I didn't know what to think, to be quite honest, but it changed my world. It's this Zoom story, I'm starting to grasp now that I'm more accessible to people now than I was before. because, it take me 45 minutes to get to Constantia to go and have coffee with them. Now they can just get me on a WhatsApp. They can get me on a Zoom. They can, you know what I'm saying? So I can send them a digital form to sign. So yeah, I'm adapting. It took me a while. I mean, I must say this technology story, but I've embraced it. And, if I'm going to go forward in my business, this is the way it goes, So it's a dynamic. Finance is dynamic, we all know we're in a higher interest rate environment. If any of us got bonds and loans and whatever the story is, it's pain, So now from not 2019, before COVID hit, everything was wonderful. Now people are phoning and saying, I can't afford to invest anymore. I can't afford my life insurance. I can't, and then it's like trying to say, but you've got kids, and then going to do a budget with them and realizing that they haven't cut down on the restaurant. They're eating out 5 nights a week. The wife's still spending 3,000 Rand on shoes. And you kind of have to take each family or each person and try and rationalize and explain the risk of changing things up, But at the same time, just giving them the options and listening and saying, right, if this is what you really need to do, this is what we need to do. Rather have something rather than nothing. It's a constant. It's ongoing. It's.
I can hear. Absolutely. I mean, you have to, and that ability to. There was a little conversation about what a hat shop is. Nicole and who was it? Luke maybe answered that. But that ability to be able to work with people and recognize their needs. I mean, the thing that I loved you said, when we chatted earlier on, being able to make finance fun. So yeah, just you've chatted about it already. You've touched on it tonight. But with youngsters today, or if you have someone who's just really no clue and finds it so dull and boring, which I must confess I did for many years, what's your technique of or thing that sort of you where you built that area?
So one of my favorite things, one of my favorite things, and it's worked a charm for so many people over the years, that just actually really don't have any control or any understanding of, with the advent of debit cards and all that. And I mean, you must remember, I've been doing this for 29 years. It was very different 15 years ago, even 20 years ago. The banking technology has exponentially made it easier for us to spend more money. You know what I mean? Like this tapping story, tapping. You can just tap your way through the day, with like there's no tomorrow, like it's 1969. So what I say to people who have very little control, and it's actually a great thing to do, actually, through that, I mean, I kind of have an adapted version that I do, and we're talking about cash. So what I'll tell people is, when you get your salary, go and draw 1 month's worth of expenses in cash and split it up into 4 envelopes. And on Monday morning, you open the first Monday, you open up that envelope, and that's your week's money, entertainment, food. So we do a budget, obviously. We work out, look, you're spending 6,000 Rand a week or 2,000 Rand a week, and we make it realistic. And if you get to the following Monday and there's still money left in that envelope, you don't open the next envelope until you've used up the money in that envelope. And what you'll find is you'll still have money left in that last envelope when your next paycheck comes in. And you can take that money and you can put it into your unit trust account or whatever it is. And it works a charm, because I think if you become conscious, so, people go to Woolworths and they spend, they go to Checkers. I think it's a conscious level. And if you do something for 3 months and you actually understand what you're spending your money on. So, I mean, often, and I know we all know this, we go to Woolworths with a list, and I know that Nina will back me up on this. There can be like 4 things on the list, but you come in with 8 things. Like, I think I saw this. I think we need another 2 bottles of this. I think we need it. These biscuits would be really nice. But if you discipline yourself and practice and become conscious of what you're actually spending, And believe it or not, like some of the most successful people in the world scour for specials, stuff like milk and bread, coffee. There's no shame in shopping around for stuff. I mean, today I went to my Vespa to go and buy some stuff, and cornflakes were on special, the kilo. And I'm not ashamed to say that it was 100 Rand for 2 kilos. Okay, I know, because it's normally like 170 Rand. And I took them out the box, and I hadn't have enough space in my Vespa, and I put them into the back. And the car guard still said to me, "My God, how did you fit so much stuff into your Vespa? Did you make a plan?" You know what I mean? And if you amortize all these little savings and these little tricks of the trade over a year, you can pay for an overseas air ticket. So, if anybody here drinks wine, there is such a thing as Black Friday. And if you can get the wine that you love at 11 or 12 Rand a bottle less, buy 3 months worth, because you know what? You're going to buy that wine anyway over the next 3 months if you've got the cash to do it. But the thing is, don't be shy to find a deal. And I make it quite clear to people that, like, you can negotiate with doctors, believe it or not. Okay. Like I sometimes phone on behalf of people after they've had an operation, say to the doctor, "Listen, this person only earns X. You've charged 3 times the medical aid rate. They owe you X amount. Do you want 100 Rand a month for the next 3 years? Or will you take this amount of money now?" And while I'm sitting with a client, "Oh, no, I'll take that amount right now." And we do an EFT. You can negotiate. The only places you can't negotiate are your Checkers, your Clicks, but all your service providers, that nobody's queuing up for anything. Okay. And also, people have call out fees and stuff like that, but not every plumber's busy every single day of the year. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I try and tell people, don't be shy, because how many times have you been asked for a discount? Do you know what I'm saying? How much do people owe you that haven't paid their bills? If they phoned you and said, "Listen, I'll settle my bill, but I want a 20% discount, but the money's been outstanding for 6 months," you'll take it. So don't be shy. So these are all the little things. They're not going to get poorer, but you are going to get a better deal.
Okay.
And no,
sorry to interject, just to keep it going. Jason has a question here for you. He said, "Can we touch on people's emotional relationship with money in terms of the therapy?"
Yeah, so absolutely. So I think that people, and it probably starts a lot from their childhood, or experiences maybe that they've had with other people or that they've seen, but money is all emotional. It's like a relationship. If you remember every time that you had no money, or every experience you had where you had no money, or you were short money, or you borrowed money, and you move forward with all those bad experiences, you're always going to remember them. So it's like having a bad relationship. People who have multiple bad relationships and then get to their 30s, 40s, where we go, "Oh my God, I don't trust anybody." It's something major's got to happen for me to get into a relationship with anybody or anything. Money's the same. It'll stop creating happiness if you only remember the bad. So you've got to compartmentalize what happened in your 20s when you can't take it forward with you into your 40s, because it's never it's like, move on. And it all ties in with having that like a good self-belief, because if you're living in the past with your money experiences, you got to close those doors, you got to close those chapters, you've got to move, you got to start afresh. I think it's inherent in every human being that having nothing is the worst thing that you can and it probably is, but there's no reason why somebody can't get up in the morning and go and create something. But if you if it lingers from the past, it's going to come into your present. It's going to go into your future. So I also have this saying is like, live in the present, learn from the past, and plan for the future. And it's not it's not an assurance or an insurance thing. I just think that, what happened yesterday, you could do nothing about. And please God, and I'm guilty. Like, I've made similar mistakes in parts of my life, socially, maybe financially, whatever. But eventually you have to learn that what is, as my dad also, they taught us, don't reinvent the wheel. If it's working, then keep that wheel going. If it's not working, jump off the Ferris wheel and start up another Ferris wheel. It's you can't harp on the past. The past is just the past. When you've had a gun put at your head and it's cocked, and these guys killed 14 people in the preceding 2 weeks. I think I was lucky, and luck does win games, and luck, you make your own luck. So, when you understand pain or the potential catastrophe that might have happened, you try and stay away from those kind of things, again. I call it like a shit-o-meter. How bad is the shit that you're in? And if you get through it, your tolerance level or your understanding of it you should learn that, like, you shouldn't be aggravated by the small things. It's got to be really, really shit for you to, and just, just imagine like a jar that fills up with shit, like the shit that you've been through. It slowly but surely doesn't fill up as quickly as it did when you were younger if you don't carry that same shit forward. You know what I mean? Because we generally all make similar mistakes once or twice in our life, and then we shouldn't be making them again.
No, 100% right. Me and you chatted. You can read the chats, by the way. There are lots of people saying.
They make pieces a lot, yeah.
So just go into the chat and
Okay.
Comment for you.
Okay, sorry, so I just wanted to tell you, yeah, I was going to mention it, but now I've just seen Russell's thing. I mean, Russell says Saul is being so modest. He convinced my debt-laden ex-girlfriend to cut up a credit card. So, we were at a party, and I met Russell's girlfriend at the time, and she knew what I did. And I mean, I have cut up so many people's credit cards in my career, not lately, but like I literally would go to their offices or their house and I'd say, like, you have to do this in front of me. You have to literally, you're so laden in credit card debt. Like, the only way, because what people do is they think that they can put money into the card to pay the minimum thing, and then they'll spend it again next month. So they literally stay there all the time, right? And the only way you can get your credit card down is by actually never using it and just paying back. And also, you call the bank and you say, like, I'm cutting the card up and I'm going to pay the minimum amount, whatever. But literally, I've cut up cards. And Russell's just reminding me of ways.
Adele has a question as well.
How do you go between partners going forward to make things? So I've also had a lot of experience where couples, I mean, I guess most couples have been through it, where there's one partner's got a lot of debt and the other one hasn't got debt. And, growing up, Dad, you'll like this one, Susie Orman. I mean, this is where it all started. So Susie Orman is plus, maybe she could be in her 70s now, American lady who literally is the doyen. She's a financial advisor in America. And we started reading her books years ago. I mean, she wrote a book called Fabulous, Free, and Fucked, I think it was. So, in other words, you were free, but you had so much student debt, because in America, student debt's a big thing. I think when it comes to couples and debt, you've got to sit down together. And I've done a lot of mediation on this, where you both, it's a team effort. There's got to be give and take there. There's got to be honesty, transparency. I think a lot of couples, I call it financial infidelity, where one partner knows everything and the other partner knows absolutely nothing. I think it's outdated. I think a lot of marriages have ended because there's no transparency, financial transparency. I think like, I mean, I just think, this, when I bought this new computer of mine, well, it's not new. The first thing I did was phone Nina and say, Nina, do you mind if I buy this computer? Because I hadn't bought one for 7 years. I think if you connected and you, I think if you're not financially connected, emotionally connected, like, even you got to be together financially. I think that's what I learned from my parents as well. As when my dad went through great times, you kind of knew. When you went through bad times, we also knew. So you pull up the handbrake when things are tight, and you must be able to communicate that to the family and say, listen, just because last year was a fantastic year and we ate at the Spur once a week, we're not able to do that this year. Things are tough, and explain it, be transparent. And I think that's the key, and there's always a solution. I think if you let it go, it's not a solution, but I think like once you're transparent and communicate, there's always a way. And by the way, believe it or not, banks are very, very receptive to openness and transparency. And I think that's another thing that I try and help my clients with, is that they're actually not the enemy, because they want you to have that credit with them. They want you to be paying interest, because that's where banks make their money. So if you can pay a little bit and slowly whittle those debts down, and believe me, I've been down that road where I've had to say to the bank for 6 months, I can only pay this month. They're very receptive. So transparency is very good, and honesty. So that's an answer. Russell's just posted a Young, Fabulous, and Broke. It's an incredible read. It's probably about 20. It's about 20 years old. But Susie Orman is like she was my inspiration. I mean, it's definitely worth reading.
Let's see what else. To that, we had chatted, brought her up when we chatted initially about a week ago, Saul, and she was definitely my inspiration. She gave me a whole different perspective, and it ties into the question about sort of the emotional. At that point in my life, I felt hugely emotionally insecure financially, and she really helped break those barriers to re-look at it.
Yeah, and actually, she's still active. She does a CBS. I don't know I think she may have retired from that now, but she did this program where people could phone in and say, I want to buy this Louis Vuitton bag, and then she'd ask a little bit about them, and it should say cancelled or not. You can do it, you can't do it. And I mean, I just think how much she inspired me that I got called by a client once. She said, I've got this unbelievable capacity to buy shoes, and I don't even wear them. And I went to her house, and literally she had more shoes than my mom's got. Okay. But she was like in her 30s. Okay. And I was like, you got to just stop. You got to stop this. And this is where this little game came in, where I said to her, you can only spend this much a week. You can't be frivolous about it. But I just saw this message now. Yeah, so Russell just sent, I'm old school. I still like having coffee with you. But so I love the face-to-face contact with my clients. And I have this saying where, the fact that you're asking me about what I do, because a lot of people don't ask me what I do, even though they know what I do, because they're scared that it's going to uncover something they don't want to speak about. So I just say to them, the worst thing that can happen is we have a cup of coffee and become friends. And it's incredible, this conversation in the kitchen is the modern day version of meeting at a coffee shop in the evening. I like that. What is that? Is that your cat? Have you got a black cat?
I have a black cat. I have two cats. That's my black cat. She just waltzed in, my old lady.
So this having a cup of coffee and becoming friends, sitting around the kitchen and having these conversations, they're so important. We get so people get waylaid with their daily living and stuff like that. But I'm sitting here right now, and there's people that know me well. I've Russell, my parent. It's cathartic to be able to tell your story. And through your story, you know, if you're a person like me, you can sort of see, if you expose yourself, you can see how connected the financial side of your life is to the emotional side, you know, to your everyday living. Yeah, they're all connected. It's not, they're not in isolation at all, you know. So yeah, so I see that we're getting on in time here, but what I do want to say is that, yeah, I endeavor to just, for me, if I had to just go and sit, if all my clients were just numbers and all I did was just say, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that, without them exposing their desires, their wishes, their dreams, you know, it's hopes and goals and dreams. That's all it is. It's like, I feel like Tom Cruise in, you know, Club Tropicana, you know, I ask people, like, what are your special goals when I first meet them? And I make note of them. What are your special goals? You know, like what? And I'm the guy that comes in and reminds them, like, do you remember 4 years ago, you said to me you wanted to go to Ibiza? I believe you've just been there. How was that? You know,
Yes.
so I'm the guy that, if you say it, if you spit it out, I'll remember it. I mean, people say to me from school, I've got the most incredible memory, and I'll know when I'm not doing well when people say to me, oh, did you forget about that? You forgot that. But like, there's a compartment in my brain where I can remember most of my clients saying to me, I want to do this, and then reminding them about it, and then hopefully they've done it or they're pretty close to doing it. So I try and make it, thanks to Saul Smith, like it's a goal, you know, it's an aspiration. I want to do this. And this is what I really feel that I want to do, you know. And it's such a privilege and a blessing when people reach their potential. And then obviously we set the goals a little bit higher, you know. There's no, yeah, you only you're the sum of your potential, you know, and it's about realizing it. That's all.
I am going to open up to everybody, ask them to any questions. And I know there was just a question that came in. And who was it? Ivor. Ivor, go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it very much. I don't want to interject when anyone was talking, but I just think that Saul's too humble to say any of this. But Saul, when you're talking about your trajectory and how you got into doing what you're doing, and you spoke about sort of the mechanics of how you got into the work you do. I think you left out the fact that you really do, you meet people and you engage with them immediately. I think if any of us have been in Saul's company, if you go to a petrol station or whatever, it doesn't matter who's talking to you, he like sees the light in that person and he just connects with them. So there's a very genuine value he can see in the person, and he has he can connect with that chord. I don't think everyone has that. It's a beautiful thing for someone to have. But I mean, Saul, are you aware of it? I mean, do you know that you have this special thing, this ability of yours to connect with anyone and just see them?
So either that like would feed into my thing about like touching somebody in a good way, you know. So Nina and I fill up petrol lately at the very same petrol station. So you kind of get to know the guys. I think I don't take it for granted. I know that I love people. You know, so I've noticed the guys would fight over who's going to fill up my Vespa or going to, you know, like those little things. I'm pretty aware of all of those things. I don't think it's because I tip better than anybody else. I just think that maybe I look them in the eye and have the engagement and say, how's it? And, you know, over the period of knowing them, I listen to what they have to say. You know, I'll ask them about Kaiser Chiefs or Morocco Swallows, or, you know, it's called commonality, Ivor. I think one of the most important things in my in what I do. And I honestly believe that it's not industry specific. And I think it's something that you're not born with. It's something that you learn, is how to find commonality in anybody that you meet. So if you were blind, for instance, okay, and you heard somebody's voice and they were doing you were doing something for them, or you just engaged with them. How would you find commonality in them? The softness of their voice, the greeting, maybe, we've got a corner cafe here, which used to be a 7-Eleven, and it's run by a whole lot of Pakistani guys. And I once went there and they were playing cricket in the parking lot. And I played cricket with them for about an hour. I don't know, it took much too long. And every time I go there now, they say, if South Africa win the World Cup, we're gonna play cricket. It's where we used to catch the bus to school in Milnerton here. And Nina and I frequent the place. It's a convenience store. We pick up ice there. We'll pick up a packet of chips or whatever, chocolate or whatever. But the point is that I think it's been a long time. I've always just wanted to leave a mark, because I do lose my cool, believe it or not, to some places I can't go to. But I just think that like life's too short not to make a connection. I'm going to tell this story because this is the big one, is that I met Nina in a nightclub on a random night, and 20 years later, we're together. I don't know if I've always been, I don't think I've always met people and like whatever, but I think I realized that like you can have loads of acquaintances, which are amazing connections, but your world, your circle is very small. So it's so nice to have people that aren't needing you to be there all the time, but when you see them, it's like you saw them every day. You know what I mean? It's like that, and you don't have to commit to long conversations, but people recognize you and you recognize them. Like there are multiple places that I go to, and I move around a lot, so I'm blessed. My world in Cape Town is not small, and I always say this, I don't take it for granted, but like there's parking lots in Cape Town where I park, where I've seen the parking guys that that take your money or whatever, that have been there for years, that just remember me, and it's a fleeting moment, but it's so pleasant. So I love that question, Ivor, because I don't take it for granted. I'm blessed to not be behind a desk all day. Like I just see so many faces, like so many faces.
That might be your secret sauce, man. That's I think you genuinely just want to help people, and that might be how you're able to understand things from their perspective and help them out and do what you do for them. Great. Kudos.
Yeah, I think why not share, like if I'm having a great time, the people around me, why not assist them to, it's not a great time when you're ill. It's not a great time but when you're happy, try and share it. When it's not so great for somebody, be there. You know what I'm saying? It's a circle. It's the circle of love. It's just that, I always think to myself, and it's part of the downside of it. It's like, I could be at the garage and something happens to me and somebody's going to help me, like I believe in humanity. I really, really do. I don't have, I think they're good people in the world. I think everybody's good until they're not. And that's what drives me. That's my petrol, I suppose.
So Nina wants to say something.
Okay.
Hi, from the bedroom. I just want to, Saul, I do think it's important that we acknowledge, or perhaps that you acknowledge, that you have a gift. You have a gift with people. You have a gift of the gab. We do know this. But the one thing that really stands out for me is that when you do engage with a client, and it could be someone randomly referred to you, which, let's be honest, most of your business is through referral, which I think is a testament to the way you handle people and communicate with them and generally make people feel good. You do that. You bring kind of like the best of them out. And as a result, there's this referral basis that goes on in your business. You're no longer calling people on the telephone saying, hi, can I have an appointment? It's coming back to you. And I think that needs to be highlighted. It is your gift of communicating and getting onto the same level of person, no matter where they come from or whatever. And you spoke about commonality. There's always a way that you find a commonality, and I think that's a beautiful thing. And it's I'm proud of you. It's amazing.
Thank you.
So let's just talk about that a little bit more.
Yes.
And
So
the way that you connect with people. And I think that in this day and age, there's not a lot of that. Everything is kind of electronic or online, but for you, like you spoke about having your cup of coffee, it's about sitting down and literally engaging, and you are really good at engaging with people, and hence you have a very vast amount of people, acquaintances, friends. I mean, I don't know if you all know, but generally if we go out and Saul gets introduced to someone and he's like, oh yeah, no, I know you, and I know you, and I knew you back in 13, and oh yeah, I know you from 1998. You have a very good knack of memory and knowing people's names and number plates and cell phone numbers. And yeah, I think that's something to be proud of, that you have this gift of communication. It's not easy for me, so maybe you can just share a bit about that.
Oh, Nina, you're so good at this.
Oh no.
So
Bye.
I'm gonna tell you something else and this is like bearing stories or truths or whatever, is that it bothered me for a short while that so it's at one stage in my career, I was 10 years in, maybe. Nina and I were married. I think maybe Sophie and Samuel was born. And it bothered me that I don't have a tertiary education. So I don't have a postgraduate degree after school. I've got accounts 2, economics 3, whatever. It doesn't really mean anything. And some of my friends who are very accomplished have gone academic and very good at their jobs and stuff. And one of my friends said to me, I said, I think I want to do an MBA. I said, because it just seemed like I needed to get some. And that person turned around to me and said, so if you do that MBA, are you going to earn more money? And I said, probably not. And they said, is it going to take up more of your time? And at the very same time, I realized that like people are the currency. Like, so when Nina talks about me remembering stuff, I realized that like I have a gift that very, very few people have on this planet. Okay. You can go and do an MBA, which I might still do one day, just as Russell says, personal growth. but like I do remember the small details. And I think that is like my defining the difference between me. It's a big difference because I literally remember like very small details about very important things, which are important to other people. Okay. Not necessarily important to me, but I guess that's my MBA. My MBA is my master. It's kind of what they don't teach you at Harvard Business School, is to actually remember the stuff that's important to other people, but not important to anybody else. And the thing is that when I wish people happy birthday every single year, they are blown away that I remembered their birthday. And that in itself is a massive story, because all you have to do is put their birthday into Outlook and it reminds you every year. Okay. But the fact that you actually send the message is even bigger. So some days I've sent 12, 13, 14. Sometimes, I mean, my biggest day is like a 20 message day. Okay. But every single year, the people are blown away, because the last time I may have communicated with them, I can see my last message to them. But the message is totally different, because it's easy to get your secretary to send a generic card out to every person. Mine are personal. And if I'd seen them in the year, I say, how's your son or how's your daughter? Well, congratulations on your daughter's engagement. Or so I make it my business to know their business. And, you know, I'm the Argus, you know, I am their newspaper. Like, so I'm going to tell you a quick story and then you can cut me off. When I was studying for my bar mitzvah, I was taught by Cantor Immerman. So if any of you knew Cantor Immerman, he was blind from birth and he learned the Torah. And he taught my uncle his bar mitzvah, my mother's brother, and he remembered the date of every single person he's taught bar mitzvah, like which portion of the 52 portions. Unbelievable, in a flat pretty close to where you stay. But I had I used to call it the misfortune, but now I think it was a privilege, is that he used to get the Argus delivered to him at like about 3:15 every day, and I had my lesson at 3:30, and he used to make me read something he called it the hatch, match, and dispatch. The deaths, marriages, divorces, you know, so everything was listed back in the classifieds in the day. So it was like the deaths, the marriages, the engagements, everything. You had to put a little, I mean, my mother probably has the inserts that we put in for our engagement 20 years ago. And he used to make me read it. And that imprinted in my mind that this man, when I was reading it, was remembering who died. And he'd go, oh my God, I taught that guy his bar mitzvah portion 40 years ago. And his portion was X. It's like remembering those little things makes such a difference to other people's lives. You have no idea.
People want to be acknowledged.
Acknowledged. And I think in the digital age, we are so anonymous. I think our kids and our kids' kids, it's going to be even harder. So it's kind of like keeping a heritage going. So like when you see somebody in a shopping center, you go, how's it? I believe you've had your daughter got married. It's like, how do you know? You know, like there's so much information out there. So yeah, so that's me. Like I kind of feel like, what do they say? Like I know a lot about a little about a lot. That's basic.
You know, I think you impact people. I think that's it. I think what your friends and family are just reminding you is that you really have such an amazing positive, and that's your intention, impact on people's lives through the vehicle of, you know, let's face it, a relatively, which can be dry subject, but
very dry,
necessary evil. And to actually feel very encouraged, very inspired, and valued as an individual, that's a true gift, you know. And that's a gift that if people in business generally could you know, had the ability to do, they'd be successful. So I'm going to just ask if anybody has any last questions.
Hello.
Dad, are you awake?
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah. So all I want to say to you is I'm just proud of you. That's all. Mom and myself are proud of you, and just you've done well.
Miss my glass.
I don't think I could have spoken for so long. I think I would have spoken for like 10 minutes. So I'm proud of you on two fronts, that you were able to really hold the fort for so long, and we are proud of you.
And what you're doing.
And what you do, and what you're doing.
And your impact on people. Amazing.
Yeah. No. And that's all I want to say. I'm not going to go into many much.
Yeah. So I'm gonna end this now, because I think, Elaine, you're about 8 minutes over. I don't know if you got like Zoom Pro. Have you got Zoom Pro? Because normally, like, my Zooms have to end, which I love, that your meetings can't be more than 30 minutes because they cut you off. But I just want to say that, like, I must be honest, and not taking away from, we all have our moments, dark moments and stuff. But one of my other things that I try and do, and I know that it's also a practice, is when if and when on those days, and there's been over the years, there's been a lot. I mean, you're talking about 20. I have no guilt in postponing an appointment if I don't feel on that day that I can give my client, and Nina will back me up on this. Like, I've often canceled appointments for the day. Like, if I wake up or something's happened the day before, if I can't give of my best. So I accepted that long time ago, that I'm doing myself a disservice by going out there with this dark cloud over myself, for whatever reason it might be. You know, people like transparency. So and it's not an excuse. I say, like, I can't make it today. Do you mind? And I'm known not for canceling appointments, but if it happens, so I think the key we should take away here is I try and be as honest and transparent as possible. If I don't know the answer to a question, I tell people. If I can't come back to you today, I'll tell you I'll come back to you in a day or 3. You know, just keep contact, keep the frequency going. It's about frequency. Just keep the frequency going with people. Like, it's not a perfect science. Like, I lose clients, I gain clients. You know, some people move on, you know, but generally speaking, like, I think as long as I feel like there's a good frequency, you know, and also take downtime, you know, like, it's very important to switch off.
Yeah.
I mean, I get messaged 24/7, 365, but on a Friday afternoon, if it's not somebody dying, I know how to switch off. I've learned how to switch off, you know, and I know who to answer, who to reply to quickly and who not to. And that's also an art form. It's like, know when and how, you know. But I've really loved this. Like,
Yay. Well, I'm so pleased I managed to convince you. I mean, I don't think it needed much convincing. And if you look at a lot of the messages Luke just sent, thanks for the inspirational talk.
Well, look, I mean, most of the people on here that I know are like my inspiration station. I mean, like, I don't know how many people I expected, but I just, like, you know, everybody that's on here now, obviously the people I don't know are the people that I interact with outside of work the most. And that's all I wanted, you know. It's like, because
well done,
Jace. I mean, no, these are I'm not even joking that the people that have come on here are literally the people that communicate with the most. It's not.
Well, you know, Saul, I'm going to quickly interject. This is the platform where it was about building the village, you know. So, you know, your people come on, your people become my people, you know, we all in it together. We all in this life cycle together, doing the best we can. And thanks to the COVID, I would never have considered doing something like this. I was the furthest thing from a technical person. So, you know, thanks to coming on and supporting me all the years and coming with your family and sharing your story, because it's been a wonderful evening. It felt like, you know, that and I hopefully you guys felt like that, where it's just a lekker keer sitting in the kitchen together.
And and let me say, Elaine, that now that I've been, I always promote something that I've experienced myself. It's like, it's very difficult. I get called by people saying, please, can we use your database to promote our products? So now that I've been on, like, this is such I mean, I know it's an amazing platform. I really do. It's been cathartic. It's been amazing. Like, I mean, I haven't said anything that I haven't said to other people in separate occasions, but like, in like a conversation, but now I've just been an hour and a half, but this needs to carry on. This needs to be, and I mean, I've got people sitting here that, like, my friend Nicola has got so much to offer the world from a psychological perspective. I mean, okay, she doesn't need more clients. She is so good. She's highly respected in her field, but she can talk to people about her field, children's psychology. Like, she there's so much going on here with just the people in here.
And
I think Iva's partner is busy doing her PhD. She's also a psychologist. If it just opens up one door, and that's the thing, is like, I don't know what I was expecting, but I'm just glad that the people I love were here, and that you now know some of the people that, I mean, these are people I speak to every week, if not multiple times a week. Yeah, I just think it's a brilliant platform, and it needs to continue. And I think that if we can do anything to make the circle bigger, we need to.
Thank you so.
And also, I know how much you and Michael loved your time in Koh Samui, and you went to Silver Beach, which, by the way, is one of the best beaches in the world.
Totally.
It's beautiful. So have you booked again for next year?
Well, next year I'm doing my yoga retreat in Greece.
No, but for South Africans, you have to get Schengen visas and the whole.
No, but I'm the host, so I've got to be there.
So send us all the details. You're welcome to send detail. Yeah, just send it to me, and I'll send it to all the people that I send. And then obviously there's going to be a recording of this.
Yes, there will.
I have to watch myself back, which is not always the easiest thing to do, but one has to get over oneself.
Totally going to be fun. I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you for attending tonight. It was so divine, so much fun, and I hope you felt the same way. Like Saul said, this is a platform to share a multitude of things, from inspiring stories to skills, lifestyle skills that can all encourage and inspire us for a better community and better living. So thank you, Saul. You're an absolute star. Love chatting to you always. Look forward to a coffee in real time. And stellar person, human being.
Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.
Love you guys.
Love.